Hey everyone, what's up YouTube? This is gonna be another coaching session, and for this particular one, we don't have the camera on, but let's pretend there's an animal avatar, and then we're gonna talk about some stuff. So, for this client, we're just gonna get started, and let's have our client explain to us what brings them into this session. So, hello, what brings you into this session?
Okay, well, I'm kind of interested in how you can explain things, so I thought that you could actually say something about what's happening in my life right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you saw what I put in the comments. There was a section that
Yes, in the email, you said you want to discuss feeling alive and that you're feeling that you're not living well enough or you don't know what you want, right?
yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to add to that?
Mm, I don't really know how to explain. You
Mm.
can kind of give me some traces. I don't know how you say.
Okay. So I guess my question is, in order for me to feel hungry, right? This is different from your example. This is different from your situation. For me to feel hungry, I need to know what being full feels like, right? That's how I know, like, oh, I'm actually hungry right now because this is different from feeling full. So, for me to know I'm thirsty, I need to be able to tell between being thirsty and being not thirsty, right? So, I guess my question to you is, right now, you don't feel alive. You don't feel like you're living well, right? So there has to have been a time where you did feel alive. There has to have been a time where you did feel like you were living well enough, right? Do you find that to be true?
Kind of.
Kind of. Okay. So, there was a time where you felt better than right now in terms of feeling connected to being alive, but right now you don't feel it, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to find a way that I can feel more alive, or not thinking too much about what's the meaning of life or what should I do in my life, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I think first of all, the nice thing is you know what it feels like to be alive. So if we don't know that at all, then it's a different story because then we have to talk about like how to identify the feeling in the first place. But for you, you know what the, desired state looks like. And that's a very important thing. You know what the desired state looks like, but it's just that right now you don't feel like the desired state and you have some work to get to the desired state. Okay. But something that you just said is a little bit interesting to me because you said um, you want to stop thinking about the meaning of life and you just want to be more in the moment, right?
Right.
Okay. But that means something unconsciously keeps on making you worry and think about the meaning of life, right?
Yeah, I think it's more about like the choices that they make in the past. I think that if I'm kind of make the choice to do something, I could be more feeling more alive.
So with every choice, like you feel like you're picking between either this choice is gonna make me feel more alive, or maybe this choice will make me feel more alive, but you don't know which one to pick.
No, I think it's more about regret. But
Hmm.
actually, I'm doing things that I wanted to do in the past, but I kind of think more about what if another path was the real path?
Okay.
But I don't think that this path is bad, but I don't think maybe it's my true path.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
what there was a time that I actually wanted to do what I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it, but I'm not sure it's really good for me in the long term. Like actually, that's what's if that's what's going to make me feel more alive. That's
Yeah.
why I think.
Okay, so I think that's good information for me. Okay, but before we talk more about the future, right? Before we talk more about the actual how to think about these things, I want to focus a little bit more on the present right now. So my
Yeah.
question to you is, if you live a life that's not well enough, right? If you end up living a life where you don't feel alive, if you end up living a life where you spent your entire life, you don't know what you want to do, like, what's the problem there? Is it gonna be that you're gonna regret in the future and you don't like feeling regret? Or I know that, of course, it's bad to feel like your life isn't lived well enough, right? But can you tell me specifically what the problem is in the situation?
In the future, like
So, yeah,
What
like,
would, what would,
I actually have really feeling alive moments in my everyday life, but
Mm-hmm.
I kind of don't feel like it's the best way to look. Like what I do, I could do something more useful or meaningful in the world. But I think that's everything I do is more for me, like
right. So, yes. So let's assume that's true, right? Let's use that information. Yes, you have moments in your day where you feel alive, right? But that was just for you, and it wasn't the best way to use your day, right? That wasn't the best use of your time, right?
yeah.
And can you tell me a little bit more about why that's so problematic?
Right. Like what I'm doing right now is kind of it has negative aspects, so I don't know it's really good to do that, but at the same time I also like that, because kind of kind of makes me use my creativity. And then I also kind of read books, so I feel like actually reading books is good,
Mm-hmm.
but I think inside me I feel like it's kind of a way to avoid living real life while actually going outside and interacting with the world. So I think I kind of had this inner conflict with reading.
Mm-hmm.
Although I think reading is actually really good
Mm-hmm.
to understand about the world,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to kind of pressure myself to just focus on the activity, right?
Yeah. So, at any moment, you're potentially making the next best choice instead of the best choice, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, my question is, what's the problem with that? Like, why is that bad?
What? Like why doing? Or
So I
I,
understand that, of course, like not doing the best thing, of course, I understand, like, on a general level that it's bad, right? It's not the best. So obviously it's not the best situation, but the reason why we don't like certain things is personal, right? So for example, like many people don't like tofu, the bean product, the food tofu, but the reason for not liking tofu is different person to person, right? So many people don't like scary movies, but the reason why people don't like, why each individual doesn't like a scary movie is different. So my question to you is, of course, in general, I understand not living your life in the best options, not making the best decisions. Of course, that's bad, right? But for you specifically, if I tell you, hey, you're not making the best use of your time. Hey, that's not the best thing you can do at this moment. Like, why does that feel bad for you?
mm, because I think that I need to make choices that are not influenced by fear.
Mm.
Like in the past, I didn't make choices because I feared that I couldn't kind of do that thing. But now I actually in a state that I feel I can do that thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I know it's going to be really hard to do those things because of the way I am.
Okay.
So,
But actually, these things that like, I had an opportunity in the past to do something that I kind of I'm interested, but it didn't come from me, you know. Like there just was the opportunity to pursue a path, you know, but I didn't take a choice because in that time I find that my mental health wasn't really good, you know. But now I kind of think that right now you had the potential or the capacity to do it, so why are you not doing it,
mm,
right?
Okay. So I think a key word that you told me is the fear, right? And just for context, this particular client and I have been having discussions on Discord and other places. So I know that because of our previous conversation, I know that we have talked about fear, but can you tell me a little bit more about like, okay, so let me know if I'm understanding things correctly. In the past, you have made certain decisions and you have done things that ended up being good for yourself, right? But those decisions weren't necessarily made by you. They were sort of like made by circumstance. You had to do it, or somebody told you to do it. You had a lot of those things going on, right?
Yeah, that's kind of that's something normal, you know. It always happens, you know.
yeah.
They're kind of
And at
kind
that time,
of
go ahead.
no, you can
Okay. So,
Continue.
and at that time, you were in the back of your mind was like, I want to actually do this, but I'm feeling like I'm forced to do this. I want to do this. And then now you grew out of the situation where you were forced to do things, and now you have the autonomy. Like now I can do whatever I want to do. But then now you're thinking about, is this really what I want to do? Or is this some another like influence from the past, or like is this the best decision for me? And that's how the thought process developed. Am I understanding correctly?
yeah, like I'm interested in what I'm doing, but I also kind of rejecting it at the same time, you know. It's not that I am fully invested and we are like we fade in what I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Because my
Uh,
mind's in another it's in the background saying to me like, no, you shouldn't do this. You should do that thing that is better. And you know that, but you're not doing it because of fear or because maybe it's not the best path or because you're a coward or something like that.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Now that I understand a little bit better now. So now let's talk about some philosophical things, okay? And then we can talk about the practice. We can talk about the actual like act of making your life aligned to these things.
Yeah.
Okay. So theoretically, right? Theoretically, there's no better way to live and there's no worse way to live, right? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that everything is kind of related these days. You know, like you could see the good aspect of something and the bad aspect of something. You know, and you have
Yeah.
to kind of accept that. You know.
Yeah. So theoretically speaking, stay-at-home mom is better than a CEO at certain points, but a CEO is better than a stay-at-home mom at other points, right? But it's just different. It's not necessarily objectively better or worse, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so theoretically, being a life coach is just different from being a software engineer. And theoretically, being a writer is effectively just different from being a cook. There's no objective better or worse, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, how you spend your time, objectively speaking, reading and skydiving, objectively speaking, there's no superiority. One's not necessarily a better way to live. One's not necessarily a worse way to live. It's just different, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But theoretically is different from how we actually feel, right?
Yeah, it's kind of that, like you are doing something because of habits, but inside you just say like this is good, but you could be doing more things to actually feel more alive, because it's kind of just putting you there like, no, this is the best thing to do, but you know that there's more light to just one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So theoretically, I know that there's nothing to be afraid of about a cockroach because the cockroach is not gonna eat me in one bite. A cockroach is not gonna, cockroach doesn't like me. It doesn't want to come on my body, right? Cockroach wants to go hide in places. I know that in theory, but when I look at a cockroach and it's just, sliding in front of me, I'm like, oh my God, it's a cockroach, right? So theory and how we live is actually different. So in theory, you understand. Yeah, I'm reading right now. Reading's good. And in theory, yeah, I could be going out and meeting people, and that's fine. And in theory, I could be doing jujitsu. In theory, everything there's nothing necessarily better or worse. But in the back of your mind, like you said, back of your mind, it keeps telling you something, right? It keeps telling you something about like maybe you should be doing this. No, don't do that, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, regardless of what you do, you can always say something about that, right?
Yeah.
So even if you are meeting people, there's nothing stopping your mind from saying, shouldn't you be reading right now? And if you're reading, there's nothing stopping your mind from saying, shouldn't you be going out and meeting people right now? And if you're working, nothing stopping your mind from saying, shouldn't you be going out and having more fun and enjoying your life right now? So it's basically your mind can always be true, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a virus, like it never stops, like.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, the goal here is not to stop that voice, right? Why? Because I think that makes us dependent on a condition. Like I can't move forward until my voice stops. No, it's totally possible to move forward with our lives even with that voice. And that's sort of my approach to coaching, right? Okay. So, what I would like to focus on is yes, the voice is technically right. Yeah, like as I'm reading, shouldn't you be going outside? Like, that's true. Like, I could be going outside, right?
Yeah.
So,
And maybe that could make you feel more alive.
Yeah. And that maybe that could be, like, instead of reading, going out could make you feel more alive, right?
Right.
But,
Because actually, like when you are outside, you feel the real world.
mm-hmm,
But maybe you won't really feel kind of good. Maybe you feel anxiety,
mm-hmm.
But you're reading a book and actually you like it and you get invested in it. So it kind of changes depending on what happens.
yeah, yeah. And then you actually go out and you experience the real world. But again, there's nothing stopping your mind from saying, shouldn't you be, exploring your inner world by reading a book or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically, your mind always has a point. It's not wrong. Like the things that it's offering you, it's not wrong, right?
I don't know, maybe maybe not, maybe yes.
Yeah,
But I mean, like, it's technically true. Like you said, when you're reading a book, you're not outside and touching grass, right?
Right, yes.
And when you are meeting people and touching grass, you're not reading a book, right? So what I'm trying to say is, your mind always has a point, okay?
Yeah.
It's not trying to derail your life. It's not trying to, no, maybe you should do drugs. Maybe you should go outside and drink. It's not saying that, right? Maybe you should like punch that kid. It's not saying those things. It's saying things that are genuinely trying to get you to feel more alive, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but okay, so this is where it may be a little bit more complex to understand, but I'm gonna try my best, okay?
Yeah, sure.
If you are reading today, okay,
Mm.
then there has to have been a part of you yesterday that wanted to read, right?
Yeah, but I think I kind of really pressure myself so much with that because, like, I want to read like 3 books in a day, but sometimes with work and kind of my energy levels, I don't really feel like I could read more than just 1 book.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
I
Well,
think it's more about the approach or that I have with reading. Like, I have to read 3 books a day. Like, just
yeah,
I think the better solution is just to, if I can read, then it's okay. But if I can, that's also good.
yeah.
It's no problem.
So let's talk about that topic in a little bit because I want to spend a little bit more time on what you just talked about. But before we jump to that topic, right? Well, this is what I'm trying to tell the voice in the back of your mind. What I want to tell you is if you're reading today, it's because there was a desire that you wanted to read from the past, right?
Yeah.
If you're meeting people tomorrow, then that means today there's a part of you that wants to meet people in the future, right?
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you're going out and meeting people, there's nothing stopping your mind from saying you should read books. If you're reading your book, there's nothing stopping your mind from saying go outside and meet people, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is by reading a book today, you're listening to your voice from the past, right?
Yes.
And by meeting people tomorrow, you're listening to your voice from today, right?
Mm.
Okay. But unfortunately, like you said, you would like to, if it were possible, you would like to read 3 books and touch grass and do all these things at the same time. But unfortunately, like you said, there's this thing called energy. There's this thing called finite time in a day. So unfortunately, you are kind of capped at what you can do, right?
Yeah. So I sometimes I also want to watch movies or just kind of try something new, but
Exactly.
you kind of have to prepare for that. It's not like automatic. Just you do it and just that.
Yes. So what I'm saying is, how you are living your life right now, like going out and doing things that you feel like doing, you are aligned to you are aligned to your inner voice, but I would like for you to think about the back of your mind as suggestions for the future.
Okay. Like,
So,
What you are doing today, you're listening to the suggestion from yesterday, right?
yes, because of
yes,
course we're going to think like, what I'm going to do tomorrow. Like you have to kind of plan because
yeah,
that's
right?
just how the mind works.
So,
Tomorrow, you're not gonna learn Korean, right? Because it's not in the realm, your mind isn't even thinking about it, right?
Um,
Tomorrow, you're not gonna learn how to do, cross knitting, right? Because why? It's not in the back of your mind right now, right?
Right.
So basically, every day you're doing an activity that feels like you could be doing something better, but what you are doing today is already a suggestion from the past about what you could be doing better.
yeah.
So when you think about it that way, when the mind offers the next suggestion, like, hey, I'm reading right now, but hey, like you should be doing something else, then you're like, okay, but for now, I will do that in the future, but for now, you told me yesterday, back of your mind, you told me yesterday that I should probably read. So that's what I'm doing right now. Like I have a good relationship with you. I'm not trying to fight with you. you suggested yesterday that I should probably read today. So I'm doing that right now, and what you're telling me right now, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it later. So that way, you're doing the same thing, but you just start forming a better relationship with yourself, right?
Yeah, but it can also be that I don't really like enjoy so much to read, but I like the idea of being a person that read books, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So now let's jump to the other topic of like, you have a lot of things you want to do, and you have a lot of you're peculiar about how you want to get things done, right? You want to do a good job, right? And you want to, like kind of you want to min-max in gaming terms.
Mm, yeah,
You want to have the best outcome of you want to have the best experience of doing something, and if you're gonna half-ass it, you don't want to do it, right?
kind of.
Yeah. So if you're just gonna go to the gym and just do the treadmills for 10 minutes and go home, might as well not do it, right?
Yeah, of course, I think you have to kind of give your best, you know, because if not, you're not going to really advance, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So I think the the reason why people have a difficult time with tasks is I don't think this is happening to you specifically, and I think that's a good thing. But people typically tend to fall into procrastination because they know that if I go to the gym, I have to work out really hard. And if I pick up that book, I need to finish it in one sitting. And like, but I don't have the energy to do that right now. So people, when they plan for things, they plan for 110%ing everything, and everything starts becoming overwhelming, right?
Yeah,
But I don't think this is necessarily happening to you, is it?
sometimes, but I
Yeah.
think I kind of got better with that because, like, sometimes I don't sleep well, you know, so I can really read a hard book, you know, or
Yeah.
I'm going to really do some really hard mental tasks, you know, I just going to chill more or do something that is not hard for my mind that moment, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, this kind of a min-maxing mentality generally has the side effect of making things feel more overwhelming because you have to make the best out of every single thing. But more important than that, like there's a it's not this. It's not, well, if you're not gonna give 100%, don't fucking do it. Or if you're gonna do it, you have to do the best. Like these these two, there's nothing wrong with them, right? Like if I'm gonna do something, yes, there's value in trying my best. There's value in doing everything that I can in that moment. So this is a perfectly valid way to live. But also, like today, I don't feel like doing something really difficult. So maybe I won't read this really hard book like in detail, but maybe today I'm just gonna get familiarized with the table of content, and maybe I'll just read the back of the book, and then maybe I'll just kind of get myself a little bit more introduced, and then I'll pick it up later. Or I go to the pool, and I need to swim, but then my body's not feeling so good. So today, maybe I just want to work a little bit on my cardio instead of like trying to like improve my lap time, right? So there's value in that too. There's value in taking things lightly and letting yourself kind of play in that moment too. But I think what's really important is that we can choose between the two. We have the middle way where if I want to, for things that I genuinely care about, I know how to push forward. But in things that I can be more casual about, I need to be able to be casual, right?
Yeah, because if you want to do a lot of things and you also want to be like a professional or really good at it, it's really a lot of pressure, you know, for just wanting to do things, you know.
Yeah.
And this is something I said recently in another coaching, but like you know, I'm learning how to surf, right? Surf. And when I'm surfing and I miss a wave, it feels bad. It sucks. And I feel like, oh man, I should have caught that wave. I should have paddled harder. And oh, like there's like 10,000 regrets coming out of my head, right? Okay. But sometimes I get swept away by the wave and then I get washed out. Like I get pushed down underwater, right? At that time, it's not the time for regret, right? At that time, it's time to swim back up, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, when there are life situations where you have to push yourself to get out of certain situations, you can't afford to sit down and cry. You have to be able to move, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, not all the time life is like that. You are completely free and you're allowed to enjoy life. But I think it's important to have both skills. But based on what we talked about, right now, it seems like you have a little bit more of an affinity. You have a more of a ability to do things that you set your mind to. I think you're a little bit better at that. But I think on the other end, being able to kind of give yourself the room to breathe, give yourself time to kind of entertain yourself in this. I think that part you may need a little bit of like more work on compared to the other extreme. What do you think?
Yeah, yes. Because I think I really do a lot of intellectual tasks, so it's kind of I really in my mind all the time, you know. So I need to, and now I try a new sport, so there I feel like I'm more present. Like I don't really think too much about what's happening. I just kind of focus on the activity, you know.
Yeah. Okay. But which leads me into, there's two topics left, and let's cover the first one first. In the end, what ends up being meaningful to us is, for example, suppose I go to Brazil and I see the Christ the Redeemer, right?
Yeah.
And I've never been to Brazil, but I know that it's a really big landmark. So, like, will it be cool? Sure, it'll be pretty cool to see that in real life, right? But thinking about going there is very different from actually being there, right?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah. And Eiffel Tower in France. I thought it was just a tower, but like it has no ornaments. It's just a bunch of like, beams. And it's like, I thought that was the most boring thing in the world. But then I actually went to France and I was like, wow, turns out it's pretty great. Okay, so again, thinking about something and then experiencing it is different. Okay, but what's different about experiencing? Like, what makes experiencing more real in your mind?
That you really can say like you kill the doubt or what is that, you know. You actually kind of free yourself or from thinking, you know, and you actually feel like right now I live, you know.
Mm-hmm. So it's about the inner experience that you get as you do things, right? If you just look at if you put on your VR glasses and you look at the Eiffel Tower, you're effectively seeing the same thing as real life Eiffel Tower, right?
Yeah, but you know inside that's not real, you know.
Yeah. But visually, it's the same thing. Visually, it's the same thing as looking at the real Eiffel Tower if you put on VR glasses. But the thing is, you're right. How you interpret that is, no, but this isn't the real Eiffel Tower, right?
Yeah, and that also happens with books because you actually have a history of characters that is really interesting, but you know the inside it's not real life, you know, it's just kind of invention, you know, it's false, you know.
Yes. So Harry Potter, obviously not real. Spider-Man, obviously not real. And, Iron Man, obviously not real. But why do people enjoy watching movies? Because they get to have an inner experience while watching these fictional characters do their stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that inner experience is what makes the fake experience count, right?
Yeah, that's why art is value, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's fiction, you know, it's not real. Yeah.
Yeah, so even if you're playing a board game, you know, if you're playing, Ticket to Ride, you know you're not a train conductor. If you're playing, Settlers of Catan, you know that you're not a settler of Catan. If you're playing, like Carcassonne, you know you're not like the city architect of Carcassonne. But you still have a good time playing board games because it's the inner experience that you get when you play with your friends. So, not everything you do in your activities is going to be like real. Like reading books, like you said, it's gonna be about virtual experiences. Playing video games, it's gonna be about virtual experiences. But those virtual experiences and not real, not touching grass things, they all have an impact on your experience of your inner world, and that's what makes something your life, right? That's what makes you feel alive. If you're not alive, you can't even experience those things, right?
Yeah.
So feeling like you are, you know, alive is about the inner experience rather than the external events that you put yourself through. But I'm not saying, therefore you should only meditate and you can only explore the inner side. No, I'm saying the external world is important and it's important to interface with it. But ultimately, your feeling of alive comes from here, and there needs to be a connection to the inside as you go search the outside. So therefore, if you're regardless of whether you're reading a book or touching grass, it's about taking those experiences and connecting back into the inside.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, final topic is about how to actually, bring this into a practice, right? Okay, so Billy, we talked about a bunch of stuff, but how do I actually implement it into my life, right?
Yeah.
So, there's a sport called judo, and in judo, we try to throw people, right? So my partner tries to throw me, I try to throw my partner. This means there's a lot of falling on the ground, okay?
Yeah.
So the first thing you do when you go to a judo school is learn how to fall. But learning how to fall is kind of difficult for beginners, right? So at first, you're gonna fall in a bad way. You're gonna fall on your hand and your wrist is gonna hurt and your elbow's gonna hurt and everything's gonna hurt. But practice falling again. You practice falling again. You practice falling again. You practice falling again. But when you first fall, you fall clumsily. You fall butt first and then everything hurts. But you learn how to fall, you maximize the body surface area where you fall. So after 10 falls, you fall clumsily first, and then you do the whole like slapping the mat thing, okay? And then 100 falls. Your timing gets shorter and shorter. Before, you fell. You fell clumsily, and then you did what you were supposed to do. But after 10, it shortens. After 100, it shortens. After about 500, it shortens. After about 1,000, you shorten. And then pretty soon there comes a time where you fall and then you're able to do what you're supposed to do mid-fall, right?
Yeah.
And overall, the more you do this, you can predict when your balance is off and you're about to fall. You haven't even fallen yet, and you will be able to prepare for the fall, right? So, it's very similar to how we want to be putting what we just talked about into practice. You're reading, or you're playing video games, or you're touching grass, or you're watching a movie. And then the back of your mind is going to tell you, you should be doing something. You should be doing something else, or you should be doing this harder. You should be putting more energy into it, right?
Or you should be doing the most meaningful thing that you think is going to be the perfect life for you, you know?
Right. But we understand that what you're doing today is because of the suggestion from the past, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to run around in circles for no reason today. Why? Because that's not what your mind has suggested. So when you hear the back of your mind, right now, you don't have a way of dealing with it. In judo, when we fall like this. We have a way of dealing with the fall, right? So
Yeah.
when the voice comes, we'll maybe talk about this in the next private session, but we need to have a way to reason. We need to have a way to deal with the voice, right? So that when you hear the voice, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe you'll take a note of what the mind has suggested for next time, but you move on. Or you have a quick conversation with yourself and then you move on. You have to be able to do that when the voice comes. But at first, you're going to keep talking with the voice and feeling bad, and then you're going to catch yourself, oh, right, we talked about this. And then you're going to bring it. And then again, in your day, you're going to be doing something, and then you're going to be consumed by the voice, and then you're going to catch yourself like 5 minutes later, oh, crap, wait, I'm doing this again. And then you're going to do the thing. So it's the same approach. Like if I was explaining this to you in a more Buddhist way, it's like meditation. Meditation is about connecting back to the breath, right? And I'm meditating right now, but I want to scratch my eyebrow. And so I really want to scratch my eyebrow. But then I remember, oh, wait, I'm supposed to be meditating. So I come back to the breath. And then I'm meditating again. I'm like, okay, but what am I going to have for breakfast today? Maybe some fried eggs and, oh, wait, I'm drifting away. I have to come back, right? So it's the same thing. Realistically, your mind is going to talk to you again and like, hey, you should be doing something better. You should be trying harder. You should be doing more meaningful activities. But when you're not catching yourself, it's okay. Like you're gonna be talking to it. But when you catch yourself, you have to have a way to deal with it. And that part, maybe we can discuss next time, or maybe you already have on your mind what you want to do for that.
Yeah, we can talk about that in the next
Great.
session, I guess.
All right. So with that, let's wrap up this recorded session. Thank you so much for joining, and then we'll chat a little bit after the recording ends, okay?
Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
See you next time, YouTube.